Seafood Boggie here, Paul Brighton, aka Seafood Boggie, and welcome to the Way of Conscious Mindfulness. So, before we begin, firstly, who the heck am I and what's this show all about? Well, as I said, my name is Paul Brighton, but my healing name, my teaching name is Seafood Boggie. Sifu means guide, muse, somebody who points you along the way, who guides you on your path. Boggie means the balancer between the chaos and the calmness. So for the last 37 years, I have been using techniques like Tai Chi, Qigong, Taoist life coaching, reflexology, Chinese massage, Theta, Tuina, many different techniques of the two main schools that I follow, which is the Barefoot Doctor of the Taoist path and also the Dragon Dog Shaman, and using those techniques, using those skills to help the individuals, to help people on their own personal path. So my ultimate goal of sorts is to help healers, coaches, light workers, but anybody who needs it and wants it to supercharge themselves and ensure that they never burn out. So how does that line with the show? Well, the show is called The Way of Conscious Mindfulness, which is a regular podcast show, a Facebook Live show of spirituality and science, balancing health and well-being with mind, body, and spirit, with a Taoist twist. What does the Tao mean? The Tao means the way, the path, the balance. Now, surprise, surprise, this isn't a normal talk show. Anything with me in it ain't normal. Each week we either have a subject or a guest. Now, it's been a while since we've done a double guest, and tonight we've got two powerhouses, two people I very much admire, and I have got the great privilege to have them on my show. And our aim, our goal is to have an open discussion, to learn new skills, learn new ways, new techniques to balance our very own personal Tao way or path. So, without further ado, with a couple of clicks and switches, we bring on the wonderful Todd Medina and the wonderful Lee Morgan. Evening for you guys. Good morning for me. Such a great pleasure to have you on the show. Thank you so much for being here.
It's an honor to be here.
Oh, it's a great honor to have you on. Let's have a quick look, see if there's anybody about this. Oh, they're popping. They are definitely popping in. Nobody's commenting here on my side unless they're commenting on your, because I know you've got a watch party on as well. So any comments you want to throw in, Todd, at any time, go ahead. That's fine by me. So otherwise, guys, my first question, I only really have one set question, and that is, so this is your show. This is the Way of Todd Medina and Morgan Lee. So, guys, what is your personal way? What is your personal Tao? And in essence, there's obviously your own ones, and then your ones as together. So, what is your Tao? What is your way?
You want me to go first? You want me to go first? Okay. What is my Tao? What is my way? Me personally, well, it's funny. We were just talking about this just a few minutes ago before the show. We were talking about where we're at as individuals and what we're seeing a lot of people expressing, and that is that for the last few years, we've all followed our own guidance. It hasn't made any sense at all. We've lost our family, our friends, our jobs, our normalcy, and we've all continued to do this. So if I take that question into myself, and drill it down, I met Morgan 4 years ago. I was introduced to Soulogy on her birthday. 7 years ago, before I knew her. I have two primary focuses in my life, but they're really one. As I've learned everything, both that happened on the linear timeline, and then I learned the things that happened on the etherical timeline, which, I understand more at this time. But the bottom line is, I realize that Soulogy is a co-creation of a divine conscious union that was set into motion long before the linear timeline, long before the name Soulogy was given to me, long before my journey started. And it is, I guess you could say, a purpose or a mission of myself and many others as I understand it. But at the core of it is a divine conscious union that is really the core of it all. As the union flows, so does the purpose of my life. So even before I met Morgan, I was aware of her, and every video I did, every post I made was kind of like sending up a big smoke signal or bonfire, trying to get her attention, even though I don't know it was her. So my way is to continue to find a balance and integration within myself internally, but in this duality to actually do the same thing in the externalization of it, and in this divine feminine relationship that is actually my divine feminine, that is actually a external projection of my own divine feminine. And it's really an interesting dance, but it all really is the same purpose and objective. It's pure love, it's unconditional, it's highest intention, and it's the alignment of my own free will, from my own sovereignty, in alliance and in alignment with that. So it is both a personal thing and a collective thing all at once.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
that's beautiful,
and it's pretty cool.
It is. The Taoist thing of like reality is that there is, that time and space is an illusion. Everything is happening all at once. So, you two as partners that was always there, and that I love that thing of you're sending out the smoke signals, and trying to, you didn't know who she was, but she's there, and that's the thing, is that that reality always, if you focus on that reality, that's what happens. That exactly what happens is that the past, present, and future will merge into one, and you can find the people you're looking for are already in your timeline. They already exist. They're already there. You just have to allow that to happen, and I love that whole philosophy. So thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Morgan, what?
I can't tell you how hot it is here, Paul. I have to use this. We've got 2 fans around us. It's so hot here. My doubt. Thank you for explaining that to me before we came on. Mine was, I believe, about herios gamos. It was about soul merging. It was about the shadow work, first and foremost within myself, and secondly is to understand that I could use a partner, my divine masculine energy, my mirror of that, because I don't have any attachment to Todd. It's not a codependent relationship in any way, shape or form. To actually use him and what he was going through as my own masculine energy. The third part of that is sacred union. And the fourth part of that was sacred sexuality. Now, when I began, I didn't know that I was going to get all these extra gifts. In the beginning, it was just 100% commitment to my own shadow work. And then I accidentally fell into herios gamos, which is the soul merging, which is the dimensional relationships, the spiritual relationships, the soul-to-soul connection and mergings. And then once I did that within myself, then the next thing for me was to anchor this on this planet and actually create a mirror of that. And along came this shadowed mirror. And I had done everything that I needed to do for myself to be able to then hold the space to do that for him. But it wasn't just for him. It might have appeared that way in the beginning, but he is my mirror. And so everything that he presented to me was actually mine. And then we moved from that, because we remained celibate till a week or two after we were married or whatever. After that, then we started entering the space of sacred sexuality, which is a whole different ball game again. That's my Tao.
Oh, and yeah, there's a really important thing there. Thank you so much, Morgan. There's a really important thing is I try to sort of, people talk about, my twin flame, and thinking you need somebody else to complete you, and it's like, no, the whole point for me that this, some say yin yang. This actual representation, or its actual name, is Tai Chi, and Tai Chi is the divine feminine, the divine masculine coming together to create the divine. So that exists in you. You have to find it in you first, and when you find it in you first, then everything else falls into place. Relationships and everything else, and so that's really important. So yeah, you have to find it for yourself, and then as a so the whole twin flame is, well, the twin flame is you. And then once you found, once that's inside you, then when a relationship comes together, it will come together as harmony rather than disharmony. And as you also said, this, you're both separate. You're both separate entities, and there's a unity there as well. There's never, the separateness never disappears, because yin is yin and yang is yang. But when you come together, there is that harmony. And then the sacred sexuality, Kuan Yin, the mighty Kuan Yin. I've got a little. The mighty Kuan Yin in Taoism, she was a Taoist immortal. She was a immortal alchemy, and she's very much about Taoist yoga. So the sexuality and using that energy to enhance everything, and because that energy, just like every other energy, all energies are vital energies, and we've sort of, when you just see things as sex, you lose that, and you lose that magic, and you lose that respect for it. But when you see it as sacred, that sexual energy is sacred, and that bond is sacred, then you connect to that ability, connect to that magic. So that is awesome. Thank you so much.
Yes.
I'm 52. I'm an old woman now, really, and I've had 2 major relationships. Sex is so opposite than what we thought that it was. What her parts will do to him if he just remains in stillness is a whole different ball game than what we've ever learned from parents or society or from pornography or anything like that. It's a whole different ball game, and through this shadow work of the self, and creating our own sacred union within and becoming our own individuals in our own oneness, then we're actually able to create mirrors of this. Too many people are actually striving for oneness and missing this piece of the importance of individuality and oneness within themselves first and foremost.
Yeah. And that's so important. That is so important. Thank you so much. So you mentioned, Todd, you mentioned, I'm going to get my head around it in a second. Soulogy, you mentioned Soulogy. What is that? What is this path? What is this? What it becomes a being. Everything technically becomes another life on its own. So what is this Soulogy for you?
Well, it's a good time to answer the question, because at this point on the linear timeline, we have both the information from the ethers as well as the way things played out on the linear timeline. So I would just explain it like this. I don't, like everything else, I don't fully know any of it. I'm in a divine conscious union, and every night when I go to sleep, and we put our hands together, we don't know what's going to happen, and something new happens. You made a very good point a minute ago about energy, and we can take all of the conversation out of it, and we know that the more that we align in the moment and flow together in the external, because that's a reflection of our internal, everything pretty much takes care of itself. And in a way, I would put it this way, the universe knows exactly what you want and what you align with, so you don't even have to really like put up a vision board or anything like that. But the other thing I would say about it is just a little bit of an anecdote. So it was maybe a couple of months ago. No, it was actually longer ago than that, maybe about 4 months ago. We clasp our hands together. We lay down and we see what the universe brings. And so we stepped into a monad. And that monad, we actually stepped out of our bodies, and I won't get into the details, but the facts that came with it, the truths that came with it, was that we were told by the other 22 members in the monad that we have been coming into the monad every night, but this was the first time that we had been conscious in 60 years. Now, she's 52, I'm 57, so we're sitting here or laying in the bed, and I'm visualizing, and I'm seeing this in my third eye, right out here in this pasture in front of us. And basically what happened was that group, including our 2 votes, agreed to this plan, which is many missions within the mission, the core of it being this divine conscious union as the accelerator and the activator for what we call the energy of. What's that?
One of. We were told there were many across the planet that were going to be doing this, that we were one of them.
Yeah, but in relation to Soulogy, right? Is that the same? I don't want to misspeak.
Yeah, I know, but
know what I'm saying?
Soulogy was one of the many that we're going to be doing this.
Yes, yeah. Okay, so the clarification is Soulogy isn't just like a one-off, okay? There's many Soulogies, but in respect to your question and in an effort to give an explanation, this was a purpose, a mission, comprised of missions within it, and that we made that decision 60 years ago in this monad. Our role was to come down here and to equalize and to integrate and to bring the purity of divine conscious union into this realm again as the accelerator, the activator for Soulogy. So that was pretty much, but to her point, there's not just one Soulogy. That's just one name for the same energy we all share, right?
Yeah. There's more than one of everything. That's the whole point. You know, it's like we're saying, the individuals, but there's also the collective consciousness. But the mighty Morgan, she is right, and it's good to acknowledge that and to bring that out there. Yeah, everything is all is one and all is individual at the same time, and it's that great thing that the ancient knowledge, like when I was about 9 years old, I was getting all these sort of like visions of other lives and other stuff, and the fact that also my family was splitting up at the time, you know, I was right on the edge of ending it all, and because I just didn't understand what everything was going on. And then I met my teachers at 11, and they didn't say this to my parents, but they said to me, they said, you know, I have been your teacher for many lifetimes, you have been mine, and it's, you know, our turn to do it again. And the ancient knowledge, like says, one of the big things of the Great Awakening, or the Golden Age, the Golden Race, as it was actually said, meant to be, not Golden Age. But the whole point of now is one of the biggest things is when we realise that we're actually immortal, that our if you want to call it soul, consciousness, whatever you see it as, that's inside or around, you know, that sort of is governing this body. Your consciousness is been around since the dawn of the universe, and it will be around well after the universe. You know, we all exist. We're all immortal. We've gone from place to place to place. And as you said, this is all about a mission. We've come here at this time because it is a mission. It is a goal. And that's where, you know, when people talk about that, the 144,000, again, what I was taught is that the 144,000 was a wave. So there'll be one lot, then there'll be another lot, then there'll be another lot. And the whole point is those people are waking everybody else up, because there's been a lot of people that have come in asleep, and the whole point is to wake them up. And every person you wake, it increases the vibration, it increases the energy. And like we sort of talked off the show about, you know, the whole thing of, you know, the different entities, you know, the dragons in especially there in Hawaii, and I think it was on the show I was on yesterday that I mentioned, when we talk about fairies or unicorns or whatever it is that they exist, everything exists, and you know, nothing does not exist. That's the whole point. It all exists, but it's all in different dimensions, different planes. But when the energy raises, those planes, you know, are re-seen again, and you see those, you know, the veil gets thinner and thinner until they merge. And like, you know, that's why we have these stories of all these mythical creatures, because they're there. They're sitting around you all the freaking time. It's just you don't see them because the veils have got so dense. But as we raise the energy, things will change. And you know, in science, it's called multiverse theory. They truly believe that every reality exists all at the same time. So, and yeah, it's beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful.
Yes, it is. I think there's a second part to the Soulogy, what is Soulogy, that she's very good at answering, because she's pointed it out to me many times when I've been asked. And that's about what is the purpose on the human level, on the everyday moment by moment level. What are we actually doing? And I've asked her a couple of times if she would just say it, because she always tells me, you need to say this. But I think this is a good time to do it. Want to explain it? Well, no. I'm just saying. I think that's an important part.
Did you like that, Paul? Did you see me smacking?
Yeah. Oh, I didn't have to see it. I could feel the energy. It's what we call in Taoism the Fa Jing. I could feel the emotional, excuse me, bosh.
Yeah, that's right. Paul's the interviewer on this show. This isn't the Todd Medina show. This is the Paul show.
Hey, actually, I disagree, because I always say this is your show. This is the way of. But I know that's the whole Todd. You know, it's all good. It's all good, Morgan. It's all good. But what I will do, there is actually a lady in waiting. I sometimes have wonderful. Oh, I say that and she disappears. Is she coming back? Yes, there she is. So I have had guests who end up being co-hosts in the past. So one is actually waiting in the wings. I'll bring her up now. 3, 2, 1. And this is the wonderful Marilyn Devonish. Marilyn, and this is Todd and Morgan. Todd and Morgan, Marilyn, Todd, Morgan.
Hello,
so,
nice to meet you.
Hello.
Hi. So, have you already, because you are the great questioner, Marilyn, have you already got a question waiting in the wings, or do you need a little bit of time to have one formulate?
I think my first question, just so I'm clear in my mind, Soulogy, is that a philosophy, or is it a way of being, or is it a process? Can you maybe just give me a little bit more on that, just so I'm fully up to speed?
You go this time.
Really? Soulogy for us is an entity. It's its own energy. It speaks to us all the time. It told us that it was a one little bud of a massive big network of connecting us all, sharing information, tools, wisdom, skills, information that so many of us have been hidden and quiet and doing by ourselves for so long. So for us, Soulogy is an energetic entity that has its own life, its own energy that is instructing us what to do. And the instruction is creating a network of the new grid, of connecting everybody, of sharing all of our little pieces of the puzzle. Is that what Soulogy is for us?
Yeah, that
you
was.
probably can add to that.
That's what I was referring to. That answer. As you know, we were told. It came to us last summer, and actually appeared as a golden tree bearing golden fruit, explaining that we were the caretakers, but there would be many aunts and uncles and many caretakers, and that it had been birthed in some way by our divine love and connection, and that it would continue to be nurtured by our divine love and other aunts and uncles, and that it would basically align with, adhere to anything that aligned with it, and anything that didn't would fall away. So I think and
we were also told, which is very, very important, that it wasn't just us, and it wasn't just the people that helped. It was everyone that was involved with it that added love to it. It would expand in that love, and all the love that everybody put into it would come back out to them as well.
Yeah.
So we were told that anyone that watches it, anyone that adds anything to it, was adding to its energy as well as receiving that energy.
Yeah. It's and then I think the other way I'd say it too is, as always came to me, was that we are here to be a small mirror. Well, I hate to use the word small because, like Paul said, it's a micro macro thing, but to continue to add frequency. It's an all-inclusive energy that is a mirror of the universe that continues to add frequencies to an ever-expanding vibration. And it's really got no doctrine, no dogma. It's not a religion. It's not spirituality even, and it's not a philosophy. It is strictly energy. Soulogy is an energy. And
it's a hub in the new. It's not just a hub in a new network. Our network that we're all creating. We're one of the hubs, but around the planet there are hundreds or thousands or millions of hubs. I don't know. We're just one of those hubs.
Yeah.
And it's the whole point of like the thing of the Sifu. The Sifu. You are the guy. I will say. I know that's what Todd wants to say, or he's saying, is that you guys are the guardians of. And then the whole point is your point that yes, that everything comes in, everybody adds to the cooking pot, but you guys at least get to the point is that there needs to be guardians, there needs to be guides, to be Sifus that will say this is the direction, because otherwise if everybody's totally going different directions, then you'll create chaos. But when you have a general theme, so you point the direction and then everybody flows with that and adds to it. But it's very much there are many whatever you want to call it, schools, hubs. That's the whole thing of collective consciousness is that you have the individual, but you also have the collective, and it all adds beautifully. Like I love the whole tree. I love trees. I always say I was a reincarnation of a tree at least once, so the whole golden tree and the fruits is definitely a thing I love and admire. Marilyn, have you got any more questions?
Well, I guess I'm not a fan of, how can I say this, lumping things together, but I think then what I've understood from that is a bit like when people, I don't know, talk about the Palladians, or you've got people like Esther Hicks talking about Abraham, where they're talking to an energy field and a field of consciousness. It sounds like Soulogy is a bit like that, in terms of, I don't know, an energetic force and being that we can all tap into. And I guess my question would be then, which is kind of, okay, it sounds exciting. For those of us, you said when we're watching it, does that mean for those of us who are here now watching it, we are already connected to that Soulogy energy if we choose to be?
For us, or for me personally, I see it no different than me having a child. I have a child. As a parent, a 3D parent, I take ownership of that child. I try to manipulate it if I'm unconscious and, make it a better version of me. If I had this child and let it go and allowed it to have freedom to wander down the street and speak to the people that it wants to talk to, if I let it go to school and choose the subjects that child wanted to go to school, then this child can expand to its greatest ability. We don't own Soulogy. We don't own Soulogy. We've birthed it through our love for each other, through the golden particles that actually brought it into reality. But as a conscious parent of Soulogy, we don't get to control what it does. We can hover over it and, do everything that we can to allow it to expand in its own way that it wants to. We don't try to control anything that Soulogy is doing. We have dreams for it, but we desperately want to create a magnificent website for it that it reflects what it is. But we don't get to pick how that happens, and no one else gets to pick how that happens. This child has to be free to go and pick the things that it needs for itself, and our job is to support it. And that's conscious parenting. We see ourselves as the original parents of Soulogy. We also see that it has some very, very powerful aunties and uncles and cousins and whatever that can expand its life and its energy as well. That's how we feel about it.
Again, it goes for me because obviously, like I say, I use the name a lot, Sifu Boggie, and Sifu means guide, muse, but it also means parent. And the whole point, the difference between the Chinese Sifu and like the Japanese sensei is the Japanese sensei means more master. It means somebody who controls and manipulates, and you have to follow that way. But with Sifu, and you have both male and female Sifus, and the whole point of the Sifu is like this whole parent thing is you are the parent of that, you guiding that person, but they can do what they for me, students come and go, and that's all good. I have no issue with that whatsoever. If somebody wants to stay for 5 minutes or stay for 5 years, to me, it's all about love. It's all about giving that energy. And also, the Taoist concept for me and the Dragon Dog concept is everything is consciousness. Everything is energy, but energy is conscious. So yeah, when you create, Soulogy is its own being. It is its own consciousness. It has, just like the way of mindful consciousness, and the other stuff that I do, they have their own characteristics. They have their own consciousness within that design, if that makes sense. So for me, I get that. I get the whole, you're both part of it, but it's also itself, and everyone offers information or can give information to it and allow it to grow and expand into its own self.
Yeah.
But as any good Taoist should say, hey, what do I know?
Yeah, there's always the qualifier, right?
It's about not letting your ego run away with you, because you can say, "Oh, I'm awesome. I've got 37 years of this, and but then you get run away. That's how I love humor. I love being a bit like a child. I don't know where they are, but I love.
We were getting along fine. The interesting thing is it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. There's been a lot of evolution and a lot of planning and outlining and organizing over 8 years, and it's always been blown up. And it doesn't matter if it's someone that was brought in to assist or if it's coming from me or Morgan. The energy of force, Soulogy is really a reflection of what we're all doing. Yeah, it's a reflection of what we're all learning to do, which is to be all inclusive of all aspects of dark and light, which is to be open, which is to rely on our intuitiveness, creativity, spontaneity, imagination, and courage to actually expand the outer breath of Mother Creation. It's no different than any of us. Morgan coined the phrase a long time ago, a copy is a copy is a copy. And so really, even if her or I tried to force anything, she's really not, but I have tried, Soulogy doesn't buy it. It just doesn't work. Something happens and it just isn't going to work. You know, there is a perfect and divine order to this unknown universal womb that has birthed all of this, right? That you have to go into it. You have to go through the dream catcher with what you know. And our job, I guess, and at Soulogy, and I feel as souls in this transition we call ascension, is to take what we've been given and create a new template, an expanded template, expanded blueprint, an expanded Tao or way for those that might come after us, which is what's been done for us, you know? Yes.
We were told when we were shown the tree that this is one of the many, many, many platforms around the world for the children of the voice of the Mother Goddess. It was just a platform for all of her children. And so I feel that our job is to just constantly look for those children, invite those children in, and let those powerful, incredible beings speak their truth.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely, and yeah, waking everybody up, waking people up, and when they wake up, it adds to the pot and it increases. And it's like, I love it's well out of shot, but I've got a Mandela over there, but also there's this one. I'll just bring it over to one picture so everybody else. But this is a dragon. So this is the dragon Mandela. So it's a dragon seal. So when you're talking about the old dream catchers, here's a dragon dream catcher. So yeah, there's always one of these ready to help gather in the energy. So it's always quite awesome. Marilyn, have you got any other questions?
I'm not quite sure how one would answer this question, but I guess one of my questions is, you mentioned truth. What is truth? Because years ago I wrote a blog. It was for the fun of it, but I said it's a big expose, the big thing that nobody realizes. And basically what I was saying is nobody knows for sure. There are lots of things I choose to believe in and lots of things I enjoy believing in. But what is truth? Or is that just something that we will all individually find for ourselves? And to put that into context, a friend of mine has said, well, you talk about angels or tarot, for example. And I says, look, I can see that I've got two ways that I could live this life. I could go through it and believe it's all true and really enjoy the energy and the experience of that. And then when I get to the end of this lifetime, somebody goes, it wasn't true. Or I can go through this life and go, I don't believe it, and maybe have a slightly more challenging time. And then I could get to the end of this life and somebody goes, hey, you missed out on all that good fun. Because whether it's true or not. So can you tell me more about, when you say truth, can you tell me more about your concept of truth and what that means to you?
It's up to you. Do you have something to say?
Well, the only way I could answer that question is, since we're talking about Soulogy, is our primary vehicle. You know, we've done over 3,000 productions, but we've done about 1,200 Soul Speaks 5D, which is a conversation. It's not an interview. And I've been lucky enough, blessed enough to be the person who's representing Soulogy, speaking to all these beautiful people, and watching the suppressed voice of the Mother Goddess in men and women come out. That has been a beautiful experience. And over time, a lot of the stuff that would come through me, I guess, is just coming from the you, me, we, and it. But one thing comes through constantly and in regard to your question, and that is that, at least in my opinion, and what my experience in these 1,200 shows has been, that the highest activations, downloads, and transmissions come from these conversations. And it doesn't matter what we're talking about, because the truth frequency is recognized by everyone. Sometimes it's conscious, sometimes it's unconscious, but it has a way of expanding like a contagion. And so I can't really answer the question, what is the truth? But I can tell you that I've been blessed enough to see it in action. Go ahead. What were you going to say?
Well, I mean, and that's right as well, and that's his truth. For me, the truth is what sits right in the heart, what doesn't hurt the soul. It's what's right for the self. It's not about what anyone else needs or what we think we should be doing, or, you know, what a company desires or anything. It's what sits within me, even if it means I'm going to hurt other people, even if it means I'm going to walk away from other people or whatever. If it's right for me and it feels good in my heart, then that's my truth. And what I love about being in a relationship is that I sit with my truth no matter what. And even if we don't speak for 4 days, even if it's holding space because he doesn't agree with that truth, there's no projection. I'm not making him wrong. I'm doing what's right for me. And he might align with it and he might not. And I'm lucky, you know, lucky enough for 3.5 years that even if it means, you know, we don't talk for 4 days, eventually he honours my truth, because truth for me also means integrity.
I like that. I like that. Does that answer your unanswerable question?
The reason I'm smiling is because I shared a post on Facebook last night where I was going, I made the mistake of disagreeing with someone that I don't know, because my friends know that if I'm not going to just agree with them because they're my friend. There will be times where I'm supposed to be outraged because they're outraged, and I'm actually not, because I'm like, well, actually, I can see I've got a different perspective on this. So I was having a conversation yesterday with someone I've never spoken to before, and I didn't agree with their point of view. But what I've really liked about it, because I've had 2-3 of those conversations recently, is that we've been adult enough to go, that's cool, that's okay, and still be, how can I say, congenial friends, talking. So I love that kind of aspect of it. And one of the things, I guess my next question would be, rather than it being a question, I'm just curious to know, what is the next thing that you and your heart wants to share with those of us who are listening?
You go first.
Is that too hard for you?
What do we want to?
What would we like to share in relation to what? In relation to
whatever is in your heart at the moment, and whatever it feels right to share. What is that?
All right, I'm going to say this. So many of us are striving towards oneness. So many of us are trying to do this spiritual thing and this spiritual growth or whatever, without actually understanding that we can't align with true oneness until we align with our own oneness. So service to self has to be our priority. We can't know service to others without knowing service to self. So, and we've been brought up to believe that doing everything that's right for you is selfish. But I do everything that's right for me in every moment. It doesn't matter what he's going through. And we've been out of alignment for the last 4 or 5 days, but I still did what was right for me in every moment, trusting and knowing that if he was meant to, he would align with that too. And if he didn't, then that was okay. But I really dislike this message of oneness, 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 and service to others if we haven't understood what it is to be 100% with ourselves first. And we can do that without making an external self wrong.
I mean, for me, my truth on that, I agree, because the dragon dog talk about you actually had it in I think it was the New Testament, not the Old Testament, about if your cup is empty, you can't help others, and actually giving away everything so you end up with an empty cup is actually selfish on its own. Is that your cup should be overflowing, and from the overflowing you help others. So in an energy point of view, is that if you're not physically, emotionally, and spiritually overflowing yourself, you will never be truly balanced, and you'll never be your true the true oneness in yourself. Therefore, you can never help. You can't help others. So it's this thing of you have to for a dragon dog, it's about balancing the chi, the jing, and the shen, the physical vitality, emotional vitality, and spiritual vitality. And when you do qigong, you do meditation for you, and once you're supercharged, then you help others, and because then you help others from a divine place, you help others from a balanced place. But when you're not balanced yourself, you'll reflect, you'll mirror that imbalance on everybody else.
Yeah.
So if that makes sense. But hey, what do I know?
I think a lot of people use the word impasse over the years. Impasse, and everybody really had characteristically the same journey, and I know I did, and I know the first messages I was receiving when I first woke up 8 years ago was, I know I shared the same thing a lot of people did energetically, which was, we carried a burden for a lot of people. We carried their emotions, we carried their responsibilities, we overgave, and so on. And I remember the universe telling me really early on, when I was walking the streets, it told me, you depleted yourself physically, mentally, emotionally, and even spiritually. You hurt your soul. And the best thing you can do is to build yourself up to 100% spiritual health. And that's the best thing you can do for everyone you love. And that's that invisible magic that doesn't take words or instruction, that like she's talking about, when you put yourself first, it's a simultaneous parallel occurrence that you automatically light up those, around you.
Sorry, I'm just smiling again, because Sifa, you all know that there are times where I can't make all the shows, but whenever I pop into a show, it has absolutely mirrored everything that's been going on. And I'm a massive fan of synchronicity, because I've been saying to my clients for the last 18 years now that I am completely selfish. And my friends and people who know go, "Oh, Marilyn, you're one of the most giving people I know." And I'm like, I think you misunderstand me. What I mean by that is that self-care is top of my list. And the analogy I use twice, last week, now it's Monday, but twice last week with clients is, because they travel a lot, I said, look, if you've ever traveled, what do they say to you when they're doing the instructions about if you're traveling with someone else, the elderly or the infirm or children? They say, put your own mask on first. And I think they nailed it in terms of life, because if you don't do that, then the people you are, I guess, responsible for or wanting to help, there's nothing left. And so it's quite refreshing to hear somebody else say those words, because for me to say I'm selfish, people looked at that as a negative thing. And I said, actually, no, it means that there's more of me for you, so that I am never depleted. And my first client will get just as much energy as the last client, because I'm going to look after myself. So my question really coming from that one, given that I've had these exact conversations, not just in the past week, but for the past 18 years, what are your thoughts on what I would call synchronicity?
For me, synchronicity is all the stuff that I've designed and co-created for myself, for me, by myself, for myself, all the little, the breadcrumbs that I sat out there for myself. I need to go back to what you just said. If we were sitting next to somebody in an aeroplane, there are a whole bunch of well, I was going to say women, but probably men as well, that would grab their mask and shove it on their face and then grab the next person's mask and shove it on their face as well. You know, why would we rob somebody else from doing it for themselves? To me, synchronicities are little alarms that I set up for myself to follow my own Hansel and Gretel. They're my own breadcrumbs. They're my own breadcrumbs.
And Todd?
That's why I'm not saying anything. Because, you know, I will say about synchronicities, you know, because I would just say what, you know, she said. She actually says it better than I could say it. But one thing I have really noticed about synchronicities since things really ramped up, I would have to say November, December of last year for everybody, is that although we're not going through these longer dark nights or, you know, journeys into the abyss, you know, mother darkness or whatever, and we're coming out of them quicker and we're processing them quicker, they're very, very intense. For me, they've been very, very intense moments, even though in the linear they don't last as long. But what I have noticed during these times is I get more synchronicities, not just numbers, but animals and just all kinds of things. And they really let me know that, you know, what Morgan said is so true, that at a higher level, I've laid out some cookie crumbs for the trail home. And I've really noticed that over the last few months, how often they come, how frequent, how loud they are, which really has brought me a lot more balance, you know, really has allowed me to get through them without getting too 3D or too human, or at least not as human or 3D as I used to be.
Why would I want to rob him of that?
Indeed. Yeah, I mean, for me, synchronicity, well, the Tao is very much everything is your seafood. Everything is a guide. Everything, you know, everything. The universe talks to you all the freaking time, and the whole point of synchronicities is actually a synchronicity is you paying attention, because you actually notice it, because you know, because like I say, there's everything's giving off information, everything's talking. And when you actually notice it, that's what we call, you know, the synchronicity. Oh, you're noticing that, but it's happening all the time. But you need to pay attention. So when you wake up and when you observe and when you listen, that's when you notice, you know, all these signs. That's when you notice. And I love that whole thing about breadcrumbs. You know, the whole thing is it's you giving yourself breadcrumbs. One of the biggest interesting things I realized when I was a kid, there was always this being guiding me and helping me, especially like from like 9. And it wasn't until I was 28 that I realized that being was actually me sending information and energy, but learning the Dragon Dog Shaman way and actually sending love and energy back to myself back when I was a kid. And I suddenly realized that one of my guides was me. It was me sending it back, you know, the 28 version of me onwards, sending it back to the 9-year-old version of me. And one of the other guys I know is one of the older versions of me in 50, 60, you know, years, you know, for 50 years time at least. I mean, according to a fortune teller I met in China with my Sifu, that I'm one of the ancient Taoists, which is supposed to mean I'm going to live to about 250 years old. So if I'm going to live to that long, I'm bringing you guys with me. Just you know, so, you know, just telling you. But yeah, it's synchronicities. Yeah, for me, they're information. It's signs. It's knowledge. It's all good. What about you, Marilyn? What is synchronicities to you?
I think for me, it's the universe speaking. And there are times where I will be thinking about something. Am I on the right path? Which way do I want to go? I like, for example, last week I was saying to a client, I was sharing with her the example of, I asked for a sign and it was going to be a dragon. I'm like, yeah, right. Do you know, I live in the centre of Watford. Where am I going to see a dragon? And I'd shared that story with her on the Thursday. And on the Friday night, I went into Watford town centre because they had like the Imagine Festival. I turned the corner 5 minutes from my house. The first thing I saw is 3 12-foot dragons breathing fire walking past me. Because that was the show, that to open the show. And I'm like, you couldn't make this up. And so it just, for me, but I love the idea that you are the one laying the breadcrumbs. I kind of think of it like the universe is speaking, going, hey, you asked this question, here you go. And I love that take on it as well, in terms of you're laying your own breadcrumbs. I think that's wonderful.
The question only arises in the 3D human mind because the energy of the answer is actually already sitting there.
Yeah. Because there is no time, there is no past, present, and future. All is now, and all is happening all at once. That's the heart. Yeah. So, yeah, the question only exists because the answer's already there. So I love that. That is awesome.
So, Seafood, do you have a question? Because you haven't asked anything for a while. It's your show as well. Come on. What you got?
No, hey, I'm just a finger point guiding on the path on this show, and it's quite fun watching Todd, because Todd, I know Todd's he's so used to being the host himself. It's quite good to see him actually being the guest. So I'm loving this at the moment. I think it's awesome. So let's have a quick. Oh, we've had so many. I mean, I've been flashing the comments up on the screen. We haven't had too many questions as such. So
there are almost not questions for this, because it just is. I can't put that into words. But if you went with that, we'd all just sit here looking at each other. So you know, but it just is. I think
it would be a hell of a lot more if we sat here in silence and said nothing. More would probably happen.
Oh yeah. Well, it's not maybe known to the audience, but because of what I do, being the Dragon Dog Shaman, I like sitting when I'm quiet, because I can talk for England. I can talk for the whole planet when need be. But when I am actually quiet, well, you'll often see, you may just see my hands just slightly in the background. You may see a shoulder move, and what I'm doing, I'm just firing energy. I'm helping raise the vibration and sending energy into the room. It's a thing I've always done. And Shanine is actually one of my students. She's like, look, well, I'm learning from her, as it should be, and she's learning from me. And she says, is that she's actually been when I do it physically, and it says like almost get knocked over by the energy. And it's like, but we all have that ability. We all have that innate. But everything is energy. Well, tapping into what I call the Tao, you can call whatever, but that plugging into that energy and then firing through, we all have that innate ability, and we all do it in our own ways. And that's the whole point, where I said about the universe is talking to you all the time. It's talking to you by vibrating energy, by waves of energy, and yeah, we could have a conversation of silence, but that it wouldn't, verbally be silent, but the energy would speak for itself. And I think that's an interesting I've had conversations with my seafoods, and no single word was said, but boy, did I learn a lot. The energy was coming through, and I was seeing visions, and I was seeing stuff coming through. Words, if anything, words slow it down. Words, when you try to, how do you describe the undescribable? That's the biggest thing. So we're trying to describe stuff, in the Tao Te Ching. Todd mentioned, obviously, I do the Tao Te Ching, and the first line in the Tao Te Ching is the Tao that can be named is not the true Tao. How do you describe your way? So it's a little bit, when I ask that question, what's your way? It's a bit of an oxymoron, because it's only what's your way right now, because the next time you come on, it could be totally different. The next time you come on, it could be totally different. And because your way changes all the time, you know, it should be like a flowing river or flowing water. It's constantly growing and flowing and expanding, but it's all good.
Yeah.
But hey, what do I know?
But if you do want some more words, I have got another question.
Go for it.
And it comes from, Todd mentioned it in a couple of different guises. So talked about waking up 8 years ago. You then talked about what sounds to me like what I would call the archetypal journey, what some would call the hero's journey, in terms of the threshold, the abyss, and that sort of thing. And you also, from what I heard this morning when I wasn't here yet, but I had my iPad on, you talked about your ages, but you said you met, I think it was 60 years ago or something like that. So you met before your physical age. So one of the things that's fascinated me about life, because people have said, oh, well, shouldn't everybody do this? And shouldn't everybody be spiritual? And shouldn't everybody have an awakening? And I'm like, I actually don't think so, because some people might be on a different path, and their path in one lifetime is to do a particular thing which has got nothing to do with spirituality, and then the path in another lifetime might be to do a thing. So I guess my first question is, what's your take on past lives, in terms of where did you both meet, if it was before this lifetime, and would you say that everyone is here to awaken in some way, or are we all going to be at our different stages?
She has questions like I do.
I know. That's why I bring her on the show. She is a
co-host. We would love to interview you. You're incredible.
Both of you.
Oh, that would be lovely. I would love that.
I'll send you the links later. Later. But this is why
I apologise for my questions, because people go, they have to take a breath.
Do that to me.
No, I was actually hoping that she was coming on today, because like you said, Todd, she's a female version of you, and it's like I've got to bring the questioner on. I've got to bring the questioner on and the questioner question Todd the questioner. Oh, it's going to be so awesome. But then I thought, no.
I happened to see this post this morning, and I haven't got a client this morning, and I haven't been able to do the show for several weeks. So I was like, actually, do you know what time is that? I could make that. So there was no conversation, and I literally just went onto the actual Facebook post and went, dude, send me the link.
Yeah,
I saw that on there. I wondered what that was.
Yeah. Well, but you know me, Marilyn. I already planted the seed to get you on the show, so you know it's already done. It's like I don't have to use words. I don't have to ask you, because if you're here, you appear, and you appeared. God blimey, we sound like a couple. Anyway, so what was the question? What was
I remember.
Where are we at with past lives, in terms of where did you both meet 60 years ago? And do you believe that everyone is here to awaken in some way, shape, or form, or is it going to be we all have such individual paths?
I'm going to let Morgan add. I mean, I just want to say one thing. I learned one thing from Morgan early on, and that was that the story is irrelevant. So for me, it's helped me in my own evolution and my own personal understanding. You know, I've had my share of dimensional experiences, past lives, future parallels, all that stuff. I've had the interdimensional experiences with Morgan, where our faces morphed for 45 minutes into incarnations of each other, wordless, of where we knew those incarnations. But at the end of the day, I'm in this moment, and I'm in this incarnation. That's all I know. That's all I can put my finger on. And I've really learned that through her, whether it be the story of a past trauma, or the vision of a future life, or a multi-dimensional experience. The information comes in, you take it, you absorb it, you integrate it, and you move on in the moment. So that's really all I'd have to say about it, and gratitude to her. The other part of the question you can answer too, because she'll answer it better than me. Anyway.
That was good. I don't think there's, I mean, energy is energy. you know, our timelines are, for me, just our mental attachment. I haven't focused too much on past lives. I've just gone, well, this is the energy I came in with. Let me clear this. So I haven't actually gone too much into past lives, but I have a lot of respect for it because, you know, there are many people that need to go back to past lives to see wounds. We've had an amazing experience here. Every time we've got a lot of waterfalls, and Todd drives close to the cliffs, and I nearly have a nervous breakdown that every time he does it. And I say to him, I must have something from a past life that's actually, but what did I do? I actually connected with a future self that's already got this sorted, aligned with that energy and cleared it. You know, I don't go back to past life. I need to embody what I need to embody and transform the energy that I'm experiencing in this now moment, trusting and knowing that it's going to go backwards and forwards in my own timeline, as well as 7 generations forward and 7 generations back. I'm sorry I'm not as good as everyone else because I'm not used to doing these lives and I don't enjoy them. I can't remember the second question.
Is everyone going to awaken?
Everybody is doing their own thing, exactly how they need to do it. It's none of my business, not even with my own children. If somebody comes to me and wants to use me as a mirror for what they want to do for themselves, fine. For me to interfere in their processes, for me, is not okay. Every single person on this planet is an intricate part of all of us, and for me to dishonour any part of that or try to take over it, try to put the thing out of the aeroplane on their face, then maybe they want to die. Who am I to interfere in that process? If somebody comes to me, though, for me, my job is I will do nothing to disempower anyone. Even if Todd's suffering, I won't go to him and say, oh, it's this, 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 and this. It could take us 4 or 5 days. I'm going to hold the space because I freaking know that he's going to get it himself and he will find his own power. Everybody's, for me, and I don't know if I'm right or wrong, and it doesn't even matter. My job is don't interfere in what they're doing, just worry about myself. If they come to me and want to use me as a mirror for their own power, then I'm happy to play that role. But that's their role. I'm not even doing that for my own divine conscious partner. I'm not doing it for anyone else. I won't even do it for my own children. I'm not here as a wounded healer. I played that role for many, many years, but I got the point that it's time to let that go. Everybody is a sentient being, is their own soul. And I found with my own children, when I let them go and understood that they are exactly the same as me, if not more and bigger and better, that what is this little human's interference in like trying to take over their space, that they actually stepped into their power. Everyone's got their own breadcrumbs.
I love that.
Oh, I love Morgan. I'm laughing. Like, you sound a bit like me because there'll be times I'm like, it's not my business what's going on with them. They didn't ask me to intervene. This has got nothing to do with me. And it's interesting. One of the things I get asked to do a lot, I get messages and somebody's mum, dad, brother, sister, uncle, aunt, grandfather, grandmother is sick, because I do energy work and Huna and that sort of thing. And clients will know that I can do something here right now, and a client in Australia will feel it, or they want to save them. And I'm saying, look, I have no knowledge of what their life path is. This may be the moment where they exit, so it's not my job to come in and try and intervene and save them. So it's a really kind of interesting one that I see happening a lot. And I do past life regression and future life progression. And I also do the thing where I'm like, well, hey, there's a future self out there who's probably sorted this. So I'll go out there and see what resources I can bring back to kind of help with that in the present moment. So absolutely. Actually, a question that I've asked to a guy called Dr. Brian Weiss, and he actually, it was one of those moments at a conference of 500 people where he went, you'll have to say that again, but I think it was a great question. And I was asking him about life and death, because he's done so many lives, many masters. And I was saying, what are your thoughts about death in terms of our time? And do we choose our exit point, or how does he see death? So I'd be interested from your perspective, life and death, this human body that we are sitting in right now, do you have any thoughts about life and death and our exit point and how we transition out of this earth and into what's next?
Do you?
For you? Oh, yeah, I could tell me, but
Oh, okay, then go for it.
No, you go. You go.
I worked in a funeral parlour for not very long. I didn't like their whole mentality around let's take advantage of people's emotions and suffering and try to make as much money as we possibly can. So I only stayed there for 6 months. I also worked in palliative care, so I was with a lot of people who did die. And the most fascinating thing for me was the percentage, the amount of people who actually died on their birthdays or within a day or two before or after of their birthday. And it was the most fascinating thing for the hospitals and the funeral parlours, like how many people actually die so close to their birthdays. I don't know, but that's been something that sat there with me. I'm like, wow, you know, do we get to choose when we're going to arrive, and do we also get to choose when we're going to depart? I don't know the answer to your question, but that I just wanted to say that out loud. Having worked in both of those industries, it's such a common thing. The other thing that's really common too, and it's got nothing to do with your question, but I want to say out loud, is that every country on this planet put more emergency service people on staff around full moons for 4 or 5 days beforehand or 4 or 5 days afterwards. You speak to any hospital, any police service, any ambulance service, any emergency services, know that 3, 4, 5 days before a full moon and 3 or 4, 5 days after a full moon that they're going to have more staff on. How do we explain these things? I don't know, and who cares? But they are facts.
Yeah, I've got friends in the... I've got
Well,
friends
that
in
is...
the
You again, this might be not one that isn't necessarily your field, but like, for example, I know because I hang out on social media that today is the start of a retrograde, I believe until the 27th of the month or something like that. And I also see a lot of people going, oh, well, it's not my fault, Mercury's in retrograde. And I'm like, I believe in the power of the moon, I believe in the power of the planets, and I also believe in human will. So what are your thoughts then about things going wrong in terms of technology and our emotions and all of that sort of stuff when we hit into a retrograde? What are your thoughts, if any, about that energy?
Chaos comes first. These are gifts. They're chaos. And what happens in chaos is that we start making different decisions. And then we feel stuck or discontent. And what happens after that? We move into purging. And then what happens after that? We move into surging. So they're actually opportunities that we've created for ourselves for transformation, for change, they're our little alarm clocks. And the universe is helping us. So, you know, a copy is a copy is a copy. It happens inside here first, then it happens immediately externally, and then it happens in our environment, and then it happens on the planet and the political system and all the systems. We're watching ourselves in every moment, and everything is opportunity for transformation and new choice back to love in every moment. That's my opinion. I don't know if it's right or wrong, but that's how I live.
I love it.
Cool.
Absolutely.
Right, okay. I've got a question.
Is the first gift of, wow, I'm about to get to transform again.
I'm smiling because I don't know if you can see behind me. I don't know if it's particularly visible, but when I started, this was the name I came up with. Will be coming up to 19 years ago now. It's Transformation. And it was about the water drop, because it was like, for me, number one, I'm here on some way, having transformed my own miserable life. I then thought I could maybe help and be a catalyst for other people if they choose it. But it was also about recognizing that I felt like we were drops in the ocean, and we'll do something, and then it's going to ripple out, and it's going to take on a life and form and shape of its own. But that whole thing about transformation is very close to my heart, because that's what the last nearly 20 years of my life has been about. And I would definitely say I woke up when I was 32. I'm now, hang on, how old am I? 51. Seriously, as the numbers get bigger, my brain is like, I don't know if I want you to think about that. But yeah, 51
I'm the baby
sounds
here.
weird to say it out loud. But yeah, there's a part that is just like, now for me, it is that whole thing. Okay, what's the opportunity here to transform in some way? It's even, that's my mind, my emotions, my physical body, etc. So very, very interesting.
Right.
Do you know
Okay,
what I love? I love watching you two as a couple. It's almost like it's two very distinct personalities, but also there's that, the thing I would describe is where it comes together.
We are very consciously very individual, and we have our moments where we consciously choose to merge as one, whether it's through herios gamos or through sacred sexuality or through a joint meditation or whatever, but the rest of the time we are very separate individuals.
And that really comes across beautifully. So I'm curious to know, you've said a few things there. Do you want to just say a bit about some of the work that you actually do so that people who are watching can maybe get a deeper understanding of that as well?
You should. She doesn't talk about the work that she does. I'm her number one client. So I think this is a great opportunity, but I will, because I know how modest she is and humble she is, but I also know how powerful she is. But she's been connected for 20 years and she's worked with a lot of people around the world, and I'm one of them. And it's a very direct, concise methodology that is human and non-physical and easy to understand. And I'm her number one fan. So you can add to that.
That was my work in the last 20 years, and Todd was like one of my major final clients. That's not quite true. But for me, my energy now, my work now is really putting everything that I can into Soulogy. It's like all of that's sort of put to the side for the time being. My work now is predominantly about Soulogy. Most of my energy goes into that.
Right, so we
do have it on the screen. So it's Sanine Barrion, and she said, what's the vision behind Soulogy.One Studios?
Networking, bringing all of us together, providing a platform, one of the many, and I did say this early on, many, hundreds, thousands, I don't know how many, maybe millions of platforms that there's going to be spread around the planet of hubs, whether they're individuals or couples, of hubs that are actually powering up this network into a physical reality where all of us are using our energy and manifesting that energy into a new reality that's creating a new grid, that's creating a new media. This is real. And that's where my energy is going at the moment. And Todd is the front man of that, and he's a freaking genius. And there are many others as well, including Shanine. These people that are actually walking past the crazy, which isn't crazy at all, but used to be crazy, to actually manifest this new network and this new grid into reality. And the new grid includes co-creation and collaboration, and all of us using a different energy to support each other, love each other, provide for each other, remember each other, share our pieces of the puzzle that expands each other and transforms anything that isn't pure love. And I know the love word has been pretty fluffy or whatever. I actually don't like the word love anymore. My favourite word is, two favourite words, transformation and reverence. To actually share our reverence for each other and help transform each other where necessary, just by being mirrors, not by being healers, by being mirrors for what we all are individually ourselves, and doing what we came here to do.
Awesome.
And
So,
Peace says beautiful conversation. Thank you.
We lost our host. Is that normal, or did we scare him away, or piss him off?
I'm going, is there a message from our host? I haven't seen one as yet, but I'm gonna and I presume he must be in the background because I think he has to put the questions up on the screen. I'm not absolutely sure, but I'm just gonna have a quick see at my messages as well. And while I'm doing that, I have a question. We haven't gone in this direction yet, but it's kind of where it's kind of
sorry,
where this conversation.
I've been on the screen, but apparently the camera wasn't connected because I'm like, oh yeah, this is cool. And it's like, why? I mean, I know I talk for England, but Marilyn's not letting me get a question in edgeways. What's going on? And I wasn't there, so okay, fair enough. That's all good.
Your question in, then you're back. Go for it, please.
Yes, I'm back. Thank you. No, I just wanted to. So, yes. See, this is the thing. So the audience saying, yeah, we can see Boggie, we can see and hear Boggie, but you couldn't see and hear me. So it was one of those funny moments where I was disappearing from the frame. But anyway, so we've been going for an hour and a half, and to be honest, actually, the wonderful Shanine, I've got to make a move soon to get down to the coast to teach her for 12 o'clock. So we'll wrap up this one. I'd love, I mean, if possible, I mean, thank you. I know, Morgan, I know you like being behind the scenes rather than on the main stage. So thank you so much for honouring us here. It's been, I've loved it immensely and loved hearing your your words and your wisdom, and I love the fact, like a little bit like me and Todd are a little bit back from our normal position, and the mighty women have been taken. That's why I think the B Live kicked me off. So shut up, Boggie. Let Marilyn get on with it. So it's like, oh, okay, whatever. So, but yeah, I've enjoyed this immensely. So, so let's just sort of wrap up as such. But what Shanine, is it still on there? No, what Shanine said was also, so how can people contribute to Soulogy? You know, how can they be part of that system?
We could desperately utilise some admin assistance, some tech assistance. Both of us, well, actually, I'm not going to say that because you'll get upset. I'm a retard when it comes to tech. We could definitely help use any volunteer assistance in any way, shape or form. Like, this is getting so big. I'm spending 4 or 5 or 6 hours a day just trying to schedule. I'm actually due to go home in 9 days. Both of us hope that doesn't happen, but if it does, it does. We could do with some volunteer assistance. We really could.
Awesome. So guys, if you're out there, oh, not quite my tone down. So guys, if you're out there and you would like to, contribute to Soulogy, get Todd Medina, contact him, look up on his page.
No, don't do that because he doesn't answer any messages. Contact me. He's got too many. He just won't even look anymore.
Yeah. Just contact the boss. Go straight to the boss. Go straight to Morgan.
That's it.
I must admit, I know that one. I know that one indeed.
That's exactly right. You got that right. I just want to say something to that question because I have been the biggest. I've received a lot of stuff, and we all receive stuff, and we try to explain it in the human language, and we try to create it. We get these sacred geometrics, we get all this stuff, right? And so I've had in my head for a long time what I believed I received, and it would be, which is basically a multiple channel app, handheld app, access based for the 99.99%. And it flows on free energy and 5D commerce and blah, blah, blah. Not taking anything away from it. But hearing that question now and reflecting on everything that's happening, looking at the people like Shanine Banrion, looking at people like you, I realized that Soulogy, the energy of Soulogy is continuing beyond what I already thought it should be as a person. I'm just saying, as an individual, as Todd. In other words, just because it doesn't look like the bricks and mortar of the 3D world, the Freedom Network, these shows, other people getting on, even someone just getting the phone and saying, hey, let me tell you what's going on in my world today. Going back to what you said, what is the truth? The truth is just us sharing our truth with each other, whether it's the energies are kicking my ass today, or Mother Mary came in, or my father yelled at me, or whatever it is. There's something about that, the expansion of the throat chakra, that I think is a huge part of Soulogy, of what I call Soulogy, but what in reality is what Morgan talked about earlier, which is that voice of the children of the Mother Goddess, that voice that in all men and all women has been suppressed for thousands and thousands of years. And it's time for all of us to speak up, energetically and sometimes verbally, our truth, and just be honest and get past the point of embarrassment. To me, how do you help Soulogy? Help yourself. You want to help everybody, help yourself, and speak your truth, and just keep spreading it. It's an energy. It's an energy. And everything she said too, because we could use the help.
Oh, yeah.
But please don't contact me. Please contact her.
Yeah, no, but yeah, I mean, like we said, yeah, she, when it comes to this sort of the connections, that's where Morgan's you can very much see, she, that's her. Her focus, that's where she lies. So it's really, really cool. Right, guys. I need to get going quite soon. So I've absolutely loved this. How about you, Marilyn? Thank you so much for appearing. Like I say, I planted that seed. I knew if I plant that seed, you'd appear. And as always, Miss Synchronicity herself, she appears. So thank you so much, Marilyn.
Oh, it's been an absolute pleasure. Really wonderful to speak to you, Morgan and Todd. And thank you, Seafood, for the invitations, even if I can't take them up. It's been a really incredible conversation. Also, thank you to everyone who was contributing and sharing your comments and enjoying the conversation. I've really enjoyed it. And for me, it's been a wonderful way to start my day and to start my week. So thank you.
Well, yeah, it's the beginning of our day, and it's the end of their week. These two lovely people decided it's still Sunday for them, or ish. And but yes, thank you so much. And as I said to Marilyn, and hence why she's here now, guys, if you ever want to, I'll actually add, if I may, I'll add you to. I've got a messenger group called the Green Room, and I'll add you to the Green Room, and if there's any guests you ever want to co-host with, I would be greatly honored, but it's always up to you. And I'd love to get you, both of you, one of you, all of you, back on again at some point in the future. It'd be my great honor.
Me too. Will you reach out to me? I'd love to book you for a live with Todd. You've just asked all the questions tonight. I would love to let him ask you some questions.
That would be absolutely amazing, and I'd be honoured to. So yes, I will track you down, and I will get in touch.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'll make sure you two are connected in the next half an hour. The pleasure is all mine. I've absolutely loved this show. Like I say, my personal moment is seeing me and Todd being pushed to the sideline and having the women take control.
I got no problem with it, to be honest with you. I got no problem with it. I was told 8 years ago you got work to do till you're 57 or 58. I'm 57 and a half now. And then all these other people are going to take it over. So I'm ready to go sit on the beach and have a cold beer and just relax. And
book one up for me. I'll be on the flight. So, it's and that's the thing of a true Sifu, Todd, is that the Sifu is quite happy to be in the wings. You know, is the whole idea is, yeah, you know, you're there at front at first, but then you take a step back, and the whole thing of, that's what I love about Soulogy as well, is that there is no leaders, because everybody's it's this continuous flowing. You know, you'll have people take stage, but then when the time comes, somebody else moves on and somebody else moves on. But everybody, it's a little bit like with this show with the co-hosts. You know, guests become co-hosts, and if they're about, I always have an open invitation. If you're about to co-host, awesome, like Marilyn turned up, and if you're not, it's me. But you know, eventually, like what seemed to happen in the show, I was quite happy to disappear and let somebody else take over. And I
didn't realise you were there. I thought, I'm not going to interfere with the continuity of the show. I'm just going to keep going, but you'll appear any moment. And I was like, where is he? What's he doing? He's still not back. So I didn't even know that all of that was going on. I thought you were having technical issues.
I know that. Well, if you look at the things down below, because everybody else, because you're like the big gap, and I went, and then you, oh, okay, no, cool. And then, oh, no, okay, cool. And then you go, can you actually? So I started coughing, I started making funny noises, and nobody's saying anything. It was like, what's that? You know, waving, and it's like, I'm invisible. Boggie has actually disappeared. I've gone to another realm.
Soulogy understands that as well. We understand that it's Todd at the moment, but it's going to expand. There's going to be a lot of other interviewers, presenters, conversationalists, whatever you want to call them. It's going to expand. So I love what you're doing, because we've been told that as well.
And that's the whole point.
We didn't hear you cough and fart and burp and all the other stuff. We didn't hear you.
That's good. You know, I'll save my chart to myself, and the audience probably heard it, but you guys didn't. But it's all good. So right, so what is so? Let me just give me a second. Let's be serious for 10 seconds. So I've got your YouTube channel, which is Soulogy.One Studios. Is there any other way that they can get hold of you? What's the website? What's the link to the website? If there is one.
We don't have a website.
We originate all of these shows off of my personal page, because that's how we stay above the algorithms to the best of our ability at Facebook.
Okay.
We have a Soulogy.One Studios page on Facebook. We have a Soulogy group on Facebook, and they've all got their own crowds. You know, there's about 65,000 hard numbers there. YouTube is building. We hadn't really done a lot with that. Michael Van Patten's helped us with that over the last few months. There's probably 600 shows on there and a lot of other videos. But yeah, right now that's what we've got. So if you want to know what's happening, there's a lot of different places to go look. But I would just say lives happen every day, probably 2 to 4 a day, originating from the page. We share to a lot of associated groups, and then all replays available on YouTube within a day or two, and everything's also available on Zoom Live as well. So that's pretty much it.
And guys, if you out there, if you want to, you know, okay, there isn't a website yet. You want to help make that website. You want to help build that website. You know, you can. There, we have a contribution button. I put it on the screen now, then it suddenly disappears. But any tech guys out there who love the idea of what Soulogy is all about, and you'd like to help Todd and Morgan, please either contact me or contact Morgan, and I will contact Morgan. And you know, let's make this happen. You know, it's now is the time. We need to kick this up another gear and get this stuff out there, because it's all about raising. For me, it's all about raising the vibration. Whatever words you want to use, that's what it's all about. So, and breathe, and thank you so much, guys. Don't disappear quite yet, but for everybody else, this was today's show. There is actually another show in around about 12 hours time with I've forgotten her name. Ra James. Ra James is on later tonight. So she will be on at 9:30. And I've got somebody else in the week, but I can't remember until I look again, because my wonderful memory. I've got so much in there. only one thing can be kept at one single moment. So Ra James will be on in around about 12 hours time. And thank you so much. Thank you so much, Marilyn. It's been great pleasure and honor to have you as my yet again, holding up the forefront. The only person we were missing in the old days is old Robbie. But if Robbie was here, none of us would be get a chance to speak. I love you, Robbie. But you do talk for Scotland, even more than I do. And so Todd and Morgan, thank you so much. It's been a great privilege and honor to have you on. Everybody else, I hope you enjoyed the show. Until next time, take care. Look up Soulogy, look up my shows, and raise your vibration. Learn, fill your own cup first, help, and then help others from your excess, or help others when they come to you. But do what you got to do. So bye for now, guys. Stay there. Love, chi and shen from Todd, from Morgan, from Marilyn, and from myself. Bye bye.